Hey, are
Hey,
you?
are you able?
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your lunch so far. Good. As we continue eating, we're going to hear from our presenter. Today, we're very privileged to have with us an international speaker, an entrepreneur. He has spoken all across the country. He was the first blind guy to play in Division I football. He was a free agent in the NFL, and he's going to tell us our story and talk to us a little bit more about resilience. And so here to speak to us today over Zoom, he will be popping up on the screen behind me momentarily. But here to speak to us today is Aaron Gallup.
Jamie,
Jamie, can you just confirm you can hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well,
Well, I'm excited to be here with all of you to share my story, to talk about what I call achieving goals through adversity. I was born legally blind, and I know many of you know what that is like as well. For me, what that means is my right eye is totally blind. My left eye is mostly blind. I see out of a really tiny hole. For me, the same way for many of you, the greatest challenges I face in life have nothing to do with how I played football. It's the little things. How I cross the street and not get hit by a car. When I navigate a new airport or a hotel when I travel, how I find my way around. I want each and every one of you to take a minute and think about your greatest challenges, your obstacles, your limitations. They could be big, they could be small, they're going to be different and unique for each of us, and that's okay. And we're going to come back to them later. They're always a part of us, but they're not all of us, and they don't have to define who we are. Growing up, I struggled in a lot of ways. I struggled in sports. I tried every sport you can ever imagine, from baseball to basketball to soccer to lacrosse, and I was terrible at every single one and picked last for every sport. I struggled in school. I struggled with confidence. I was picked on. I was made fun of. But I wanted to play something. In seventh grade, I found football. I knew I couldn't be the position that everyone else wanted. Couldn't be a quarterback and find the wide receiver downfield. And I couldn't be the wide receiver and catch the ball coming at me. It would hit me in the helmet. And so at the time, my coach said, Aaron, play offense and defensive line. All you have to do is block the person in the other color jersey and play 10 on 10. In theory, that worked. But when you're not very big, fast, strong, or athletic, and you're legally blind, well, you're not very good. And I wasn't playing. I wasn't getting on the field. I was sitting on the bench. But for me, I didn't care. I was on a team. I was a part of something. I finally found a sport that I could be in. And I was excited. I was thrilled to learn, to grow. Whenever we try something new, we want to be great at it. But that's not usually what happens. Usually we go through those periods where we struggle, where we're challenged, where we're not good. And over time, we improve. And for some of us, that takes longer than others. And I was one of those. A few years later, I found myself as a sophomore in high school as a third-string university athlete. Never getting on the field. Up until that point, being legally blind defined who I was, what I could do, what others thought about me. I told you a minute ago that your challenges, your obstacles, your adversities are a part of you, but they're not all of you. They don't have to define who you are. Well, up until that point, being legally blind defined me. I was the legally blind kid. defined what I could and couldn't do, what I thought and perceived about myself, and what others thought and perceived about me. I was tired of it. I wanted to be successful, not just in school, not just in sports, not just with my confidence, but in life in general and everything that I could do. I wanted to find a way to be successful in anything I wanted to do. I had to start thinking differently. Because how we think about our challenges, how we think about our adversities, shapes our perspective. Our perspective shapes how we feel, what we focus on, and ultimately our experiences. And if we think about it in a negative way, that trickles down. If we think about it in a positive way, it does the same. And I had to stop thinking about what I couldn't do and start thinking about what I could do. How could I actually play? How could I contribute? How could I get on the field? And I found the position long snapping. It's a very niche, unique position, and if you don't know what it is, I was the person who'd punt field goals, who would throw the ball between my legs. I'd block, and either the punter would punt the ball, or the kicker would kick it. And I realized because this was such a specialized position, if I got really good at it, then maybe I'd have a chance to get on the field. But I also understood that my athletic ability was so much lower than everybody else's that I had to find a way to do what they weren't. Going to school, going to practice, I wasn't getting much better. I wasn't bridging the gap. If their athletic ability was up here, mine was way down here. I had to find a way to bridge that gap. That's when I started taking on the belief that if you do the things that nobody else is willing to do, you'll get the results that nobody else is able to get. And that was true for me being legally blind because, like I said, just going to practice wasn't going to make me much better. I wasn't going to be able to catch up to everyone else around me. But I realized if I woke up early and went to school and started practicing long snapping, if I lifted weights in the evenings, maybe I could over time. And so for the next few years, my focus became just that. I woke up at 5 a.m. every day, went to school and practiced long snapping for an hour and a half. Went to class, went to practice with the team, and lifted weights for another hour and a half every evening. Now, I knew that I wouldn't see results the next day, the next week, or the next month. But I also understood that if I did this every day, every week, every month, and ultimately every year, eventually that consistency, that discipline would compound. Because success takes time. Changing who you are takes time. Changing how you think about yourself, your limitations, and what you can do takes time. But over that time, you can make those changes. I was able to go from a third-string university athlete my sophomore year of high school to a varsity starter my senior year, ranked as one of the top long snappers in the country and one of the top football players of any position in the state of Massachusetts. Because I was willing to think differently about what I could do and do the work that nobody else was willing to do. Because when you do the work that nobody else is willing to do, you get the results that nobody else is able to get. Now, just because I was ranked highly didn't mean that college coaches were knocking down my door. I wanted to play at the next level now, but they weren't coming to me. And the second I talked to them, they ran away. Their immediate opinion was, oh, he's legally blind, he can play in high school, but he can't play in college. He's too much of a risk, he's too much of a gamble, we can't take a chance on him. I just started thinking differently again. If they're not going to come to me, how do I go to them? If they don't want to give me a chance, what do I do to get in front of as many coaches as possible to give myself the best odds? Because if you do, again, what nobody else is willing to do, you'll get the results that nobody else can get. And so I started reaching out to every college coach in the country, cold calling them, cold emailing them, showing up in football offices. I wouldn't leave them alone until they would sit down and talk to me or tell me to leave. I didn't care if it was the head coach of Alabama, head coach of Michigan. Didn't matter to me. I was trying to get in front of as many people as possible. Time and time again. And most of them said no. But I realized if I contacted enough schools, somebody would give me a chance. I would find that right fit.
The
The problem is, when we have a goal, most of us try a couple times. Maybe 3 times, maybe 4, maybe 5, and then we quit and we give up. But if I told you that the goal that you had, whatever you want to accomplish, is on the other side of the 70th, the 80th, the 90th no, you'd probably be thrilled. On the 20th, you'd say, hey, only 50 more. On the 40th, you'd say only 30 more. On the 60th, you'd say only 10 more. But unfortunately, that's not what we do. Most of us quit and realize that if we just kept going for a little while longer, we'd accomplish our goal because it's right around the corner. But we don't like that rejection. We don't like that no. But when we learn to accept it, when we learn to embrace it, that's when we can get to the other side of it. Eventually, after reaching out to every school in the country, I started to get a little bit of interest. One coach at a big school wanted me to come down, meet with the coaches, meet with the team, and walk around. And as I was walking around, getting to know them, seeing the facilities, it became evident they knew I was visually impaired. But they didn't know what being legally blind or mostly blind was for me. And I thought I was going to get an offer that evening to go play. And I told myself if they were going to take that chance on me, then I had to find the confidence and courage to be open, be honest and vulnerable about what I could do and where I needed some help and support. Because I wanted to play there. And so at the end of the day, we went to the coach's office and we sat down. He asked me how my day went, and I told him. And I expressed that I'm legally blind and what it meant, where I might need help learning my way around, assistance in different ways, and how I could still contribute to the team, to the school, and be an impact on the field. But I went home that evening thinking, I'm going to get an offer tonight, tomorrow, I'll get an email any day now. And I sent him an email and I thanked him for his time. And then a few days went by. A week went by. Next thing too. I hadn't heard anything still. And then I saw online that he had offered a different long snapper. And to me, this wasn't just another no, this was a rejection. It was a slap in the face. I was pissed off. I was angry. I was mad. Because I had opened up, I had been vulnerable, and talked about something that at 17 years old I wasn't comfortable talking about. I immediately started to think, is this worth doing? Will somebody ever give me a chance? Will somebody ever give me an opportunity? Or am I wasting my time? Thought about quitting. But eventually I had to realize that you can only control what you can control. You can't always control everyone's opinions, everyone's judgments, everyone's beliefs, especially if you just meet them in an instant. But what you can control is your effort, your attitude, your energy, what you are willing to do to succeed. I couldn't change that coach's opinion from him not believing that I could play. What I could do is wake up the next morning when my alarm went off. Practice long snapping, reach out to more schools, lift more weights, and do the little things every single day consistently that would allow me to get noticed, that would allow me to get an opportunity and find a coach, a team, a school that would give me an opportunity. Eventually Tulane called. They didn't care that I was legally blind. They wanted me to come play. And I'm thankful and grateful that they did. Now, I remember my first week of training camp when I got there. One day we're doing special teams, we're doing punt. My coach calls first team punt out onto the field. They do their reps, they run off, and he yells second team punt. I'm so excited. I'm a freshman in college. I'm 18 years old. It is my first reps on a college practice field. I grab my helmet, I throw on my head, I run onto the field, and as I start getting set up in front of this football, this linebacker starts walking towards me. And he points at me and he goes, Isn't that the blind kid? I froze and I'm thinking, is that what everybody thinks? That Tulane brought me in to be nice as this feel-good story, as this charity case. It's not what I wanted. I want people to know, to understand that I deserve to be here, that I earned to be here, that I put in the same, if not more time, effort, and energy as everybody else on this field, and I could compete at the same level as them.
Now, like
I told you, you can't change everybody's opinions in the beginning.
But guess
What? You can show them over time.
I'm
I'm a believer that nobody cares what you say you can do, but they care what you show them you can do.
And this
was an opportunity where I'd be around my teammates, my coaches for the long haul.
And so
on that play, I snapped that ball and then I hit that linebacker as hard as I possibly could to show that I could compete. My focus became giving 110% on the field, in the classroom, in the weight room, every day to show that I was on the same level. Everyone there. That I deserved and earned to be there with that team.
I started
to get more reps, getting more practice time. And in my sophomore year, I thought, hey, I'm going to start to maybe play a little. One game, we went to the locker room at halftime against University of Central Florida.
We're up by
a couple touchdowns. And I'm thinking, hey, if we keep scoring, then maybe I'll get to go in. Midway through the third quarter, we have the ball on the 50-yard line. My coach runs over to me, he grabs my jersey, and he goes, Aaron, if we score on this drive, you're going to get to go in. That's amazing. It's incredible. All the hard work, the time, the effort I had put in, going to pay off today. And so I run over to the side, I grab a football, I grab my helmet, I want to get a couple practice reps in with my holder. And as we start to get down and about to snap the football, hear the crowd erupt. Tens of thousands of fans screaming. I froze. We scored. I was excited, I was scared, I was nervous, all at the same time. My holder grabbed me, we ran onto the field, he helped me get set, and he went back to where he would catch the ball. All these emotions flooding through me. This was the moment that I was about to become the first legally blind Division I athlete to play again. The thing with long snapping is if you feel those emotions, if you're nervous, if you're scared, if you're excited, you'll sail the ball over the holder's head, the punter's head. You'll roll it back. You have to be calm. And so I had to go through my routine, the same thing I had done thousands and thousands of times in practice. Take some deep breaths. Relax. Understand that it would be perfect and block out everything around me. I snapped that football. In that moment, that game is where I became the first legally blind Division I athlete to play in a game. You're probably thinking, wow, you must have been thrilled, you must have been excited. I was for a moment. But things weren't great for me. We'd gone 3-9 my freshman year, and we were about to go 3-9 my sophomore year. And when you go 3-9 2 years in a row at Division I school, your coach gets fired. This immediately threw me into a place of fear, of anxiety, of scarcity. I told myself the story that, well, the new coach coming in didn't give me a chance to play wherever he was before, because he was at a different Division I school, and I had reached out to every coach in the country. Why would he now? Why would he give me a shot now? He didn't before. And because that's what I told myself, it's what I started to believe. Because what you focus on, what you feel, determines your experiences. And when he came in, I delayed talking to him as long as I could because of that fear. I thought of everything I possibly could to not have that conversation with him. I thought about quitting football. I thought about transferring schools. I didn't want to have that conversation. And the more I thought about it, I realized that if I quit, I'd probably regret it one day. If I transferred, I'd be in the same position somewhere else. Probably worse. If I wanted to play, I had to find a way to have the confidence and courage to go talk to him about what I could do. It's funny, but oftentimes the goal that we have, whatever we want to accomplish, is on the other side of the conversation we don't want to have, or the action we don't want to take. And we delay it, we put it off. And the more we put it off, the harder it becomes. Not because the conversation itself gets harder, not because the task becomes more difficult, because that procrastination builds. And when it builds, the fear builds, the anxiety builds, the scarcity builds. The more we have time to tell ourselves the story and convince ourselves of something that doesn't exist. I convinced myself that going into his office, he wouldn't give me a chance. So I put it off. And eventually, when I found that confidence, I went to his office and I sat down with him, Coach Willie Fritz. Today, he's a friend, a mentor of mine. But in the moment, I was nervous. And we sat down, he asked me some questions, and he was concerned. He never worked with someone like me. Mostly blind, playing football. He didn't know what to think, do, or say. He was scared, and so was I. And through the conversation, we talked about the impact I could have, what I had done, and how being legally blind didn't have to define who I was, how I could push myself, how I could add value to the team and push the people around me. We left that conversation saying, hey, we're going to give spring ball, summer ball a chance. If we have to have this conversation again, we will. We're going to try. We have to part ways, we will, but we're going to try. That spring, that summer, my focus shifted. Up until that point, it was, how do I become the best football player I can be? And that got me to where I was. But oftentimes in life, you need to realize what got you to where you are isn't necessarily what's going to get you to where you want to go. Because goals change. You change. Your environment changes. I realized that if I wanted to continuously play and be an impact on myself and on this team, I had to find a way to add as much value as I could. I realized if I could add value every day, if I could be a small piece in taking this losing program and turning us into a winning program, if I could be the best leader, the best teammate, the best communicator on this field, my coach would never let me go. Because I would be so valuable that they would need me. My focus became every day in practice when we were running sprints. Someone was struggling, how do I push them and pick them up so they can keep going? If we're in the classroom and someone doesn't do well on a test, how do I support them and help them so they can study differently and do better in the next one? If we're in the weight room, someone grabs a weight that's too light for them, how do I go over and push them to pick up a heavier one? Because I knew what they could do. The best leaders in life know how to help and support the people around them who need to be supported, and know how to push people when they need to be pushed. Over the next 2 years, that was my focus. And my coach and I never had that conversation again. At the start of my senior year, he named me a team captain. Because I was able to change his mind, his perspective, what I could do. I was able to show him, the rest of the coaching staff, the team, that I could add value. That being legally blind didn't have to define who I was, and I could contribute. For me, that was one of the most powerful parts of my playing career. It wasn't just about playing, it was about showing others that your challenges, your limitations don't have to define you. And just because you have something, a difference, a disability, an adversity, an obstacle that others don't, that doesn't mean you can't be at the top of your game, at the top of the industry, one of the most successful there is at what you're doing. It showed that I could be a captain of a Division I program and add value to everyone around me. Now, at the end of that season, I didn't want to be done playing football, though. I made it to Division I. I was a captain of a Division I team, but my goals were higher. How could I make it to the NFL? How could I play at the highest possible level that I could do? I started training for what's called my Pro Day, a tryout for NFL coaches, scouts, and teams. And for part of my spring semester that year, I flew out to San Diego, California. I was training with legendary NFL kicker John Carney and his team. Now, at his facility, he was getting kickers, punters, and long snappers ready for their next season in the NFL, getting ready for the draft, getting ready for their pro days like me. And I remember when I got there, when I got dropped off, I'm walking around, I'm getting to know John, he's showing me the facility. And he looks at me and he goes, Aaron, we're going to work out at the beach today.
My
My first thought is awesome. It's sunny. It's 80 degrees out. We're going to run some sprints at the beach. We're going to get a nice tan. Like, great way to start the week. I could not have been more wrong. So we all pile into John's car. We start driving, and the beach is about 10 to 15 minutes away. And as we get there, we park at the top of these steps. And we're walking down them, holding onto the railing. There's rocks everywhere, there's cracks, there's clumps of sand, and we're going down about 50 steps. I knew if I didn't hold onto the railing, I might trip on something I didn't see. So I'm being really careful every single step. As we're walking down, John looks over to me, he goes, Aaron, can you do this? I'm like, John, what do you mean? We're going to run some sprints on the beach, it's going to be fun, of course I could do this. Looks at me and goes, Aaron, we're going to run sprints up and down these steps. And my heart sinks. I'm immediately thinking, this is my absolute worst nightmare. I'm going to run up 5 steps, I'm going to trip on a rock, I'm going to fall on my face and tumble down. But of course, with all the confidence in the world, out of my mouth goes, yeah, no worries, I got this. Let me watch the first couple guys go, and then I'll do. It's the first 2 guys run up as fast as they can, that's my turn. So I take a look up these steps, I take a deep breath, start sprinting up. Of course, just like I thought, I make it to about the 5th step. My foot hits a rock. Fall over. I pick myself up, and I walk down these steps. Get to the bottom, I take a look up again. Think I can do this. Everyone else's, my limitation does not define me. Take a deep breath as I'm looking up these steps again, and I start sprinting up. This time I make it to the 8th step, my foot lands in a crack, I twist my ankle, and I fall over. I get up again and I walk down. Take a look up at these steps, and I think 3rd time's the charm, no problem at all. Take another deep breath. Start sprinting up. This time I make it to the 12th step. I slip on another rock and I fall on my face. This time I'm sitting there. I don't get up immediately, and I'm thinking to myself, like, why me? Why do I have to have the vision I have? Why is it so easy for everybody else? Why is this so hard? Why can't I do this? That's what most of us think when we face a challenge, when we face an adversity, when we face an obstacle. Go back to the one that you thought of in the beginning today. I told you we'd come back to it. We all have a challenge, we all have an obstacle. What you face might be a little different than what others face, and that's okay. Again, remember, it is a part of you, but it doesn't define who you are. Now, as you think of that challenge, I want you to think of what your goals are. Ask yourself, does that challenge make accomplishing your goals a little harder? It's okay if it does. What I want you to understand is there's thousands of paths that take you to the end result, take you to your goal, that allow you to succeed. And it's not about doing the same path that the person next to you is taking, that your friend is taking, that your family member is taking, that the person you see online is taking. No. It's about finding the path that works for you, your unique situation, your unique challenges, your goals. And when you find that path, that's what allows you to succeed. I had to realize that in this moment. If I kept trying to take the path that everybody else was taking, sprinting up these steps with rocks everywhere, with clumps of sand, with cracks, I'd keep tripping. Keep slipping, I'd keep falling on my face. I'd never make it up. Could do it 100 times and I'd never make it up. But if I found the path that was right for me and I found a way to get up and understand my surroundings, then maybe I would. So I started walking up the steps, really slowly. Paying really close attention and trying to figure out where all these rocks were, where these cracks were, and where these clumps of sand were. And I realized that if I knew where they were, then maybe I'd make it up. And so every time I'd go a little faster. I was walking faster, I was jogging, I was running, I was eventually sprinting. Took me 20 times to be able to sprint up these steps. But I made it up because I found the path that was right for me, not what was right for somebody else. If I had kept just sprinting up, I would have never made it there. But I took my time. I understood my surroundings slowly, and I built on. I found that path that was right for me. And when you can find that path that's right for you, it takes what you thought was possible and expands it. It allows you to realize that anything in life is possible. It's about how you think about it, how you perceive it, and what you're willing to do to accomplish it. I'm thankful. I'm grateful that I was born mostly blind with the vision that I have. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened for me. Because being born with my vision is what allowed me to play football at the level I did. I strongly believe that. It's what allowed me to create the relationships I have, the business I run. It's ultimately what turned me into the person I am today. And because of that, I'm grateful. I'm thankful. Think about that. How are you grateful? How are you thankful for your challenges? How can they impact you in ways you didn't see before? We all have them, but we all can find our paths to overcome them, to accomplish our goals. Now, when I was growing up, I certainly wasn't thankful and grateful for my vision. When I was in high school, I was thinking, hey, why can't I drive a car and everyone else can? I was thinking, why when I look at my phone do I have to hold it close to my face and it looks like I'm smelling it? Why does it have to look weird like that? But when I started to accept the fact that I can't do anything with my vision, I can't change it. When we can accept our challenges, it allows us to think differently about them. Think differently about what we can do, what we can accomplish, how we can succeed. And when we think differently, that trickles down to how we perceive the world, perceive what we're doing, and ultimately we can find gratitude within it. Now, for me, after my pro day, I got an opportunity to practice, to try out, to showcase my abilities in front of NFL scouts. Something that at 10 years old, I would have never thought was possible. Growing up, being one of the worst athletes out there, allowing being legally blind to control me, I would have never thought I would have made it that far. But it's how you perceive each instance, each situation, each challenge that allows you to find ways to overcome it. So take a minute. Think again about the challenge you thought of in the beginning. Ask yourself how you perceive it if that started to shift today. Really take a minute. I'm sure a lot of you do cool things, do creative things, don't allow, if you also are visually impaired or blind or legally blind, don't allow it to control every aspect of your life. And that's important. That's amazing. What I'm telling you here today is not that you need to wake up tomorrow and say, I'm so grateful for my challenge, for my vision, for the obstacles I face in my life. No. What I'm telling you right now is that if you can learn and grow from each situation, if you can think differently about each situation, each challenge, you can start down that path. We all have goals. We all have things we want to accomplish. We all have challenges. But those challenges don't have to stand in the way of what we want to do. And if next time your challenge arises, you ask yourself, how can I learn from it? How can I grow from it? How can I think differently about it? You'll be able to reshape what you're able to do, how you can accomplish your goals, and maybe down the road find gratitude. So if you take one thing away from today, and we'll open up for questions in a minute. But if you take one thing away from today, it's that how you think about your challenges, how you learn and grow from them matters. And if you can focus on those things every day,
the
the things you thought were impossible
can
become possible.
So
Thank you for listening to my story, to my background of how I was able to overcome my challenges, and I hope it made an impact on each and every one of you. I know we want to open up for questions, and so I don't know if it's Jamie or if someone else is kind of monitoring the mic on that end, but if you want to have people come up to it, or how do you want to do it on your end, Jamie?
We'll just have people say their name and we'll run a mic to them. So thank you very much. Let's give Aaron a good round of applause first. Hand that over to him.
Hi, Aaron. Thank you very much for sharing your story. A lot to take away from that, but I'm still left with this one curiosity. In that first game, did you score the extra point?
Great question. So yes, I snapped the ball and the kicker made the extra point. I was thrilled. It was a really fun game to be a part of.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Angela.
Okay, Angela, we'll get you a mic. One sec.
The epitome of all questions for you, Aaron. If you could talk to your 10-year-old self now, with the knowledge you have in this day and time, what message would you give to that 10-year-old boy?
It is such a good question. Look, the biggest thing I would say is don't be afraid to fail. So often we are afraid to fail, we're afraid to look silly, we're afraid to look dumb, and that controls so much of us. Not only how we go after our goals, how we act socially, how we do anything in life. We're afraid of failing, we're afraid of being made fun of, we're afraid of what other people think. And when you can learn that if you fail and you learn from that failure, you improve, and you keep failing a little bit better over time, you will succeed. That's so important. If I understood that concept when I was 10, that it is okay to fail, that's okay to learn from those failures, and you will eventually start failing better and grow and succeed, that I think is the number one thing.
All right, anybody else? Monty, was that you? Okay.
Okay, is this on? Yep. Okay, my stepson is a high school football coach. He doesn't quite understand what it's like to be blind. I have no vision at all, and I am trying to convince him to allow people with disabilities to play football. Is there any film of yours that I can download to show him?
Absolutely. Go. First up, send him a link to my website, aarongolub.com. But if you just Google Aaron Golub Tulane football, you'll see videos, whether it be interviews or footage of me playing, that type of stuff to send to him. And tell him that just because you have a limitation doesn't mean you can't succeed. And look at this person with this vision who was able to play at the highest possible level. And if you think creatively, and if the person wants to work at it, then they can succeed. Now, I say that specifically because there's also a lot of work involved. Of course, anyone can play. I strongly believe that. But there is a difference between playing and being good. And if that person wants to work at it, I believe that they can start and they can play at a high level. And that disability does not need to stand in their way if they're willing to put in that time and effort.
All right, maybe one more question. No? Wow. Well, thank you again, Aaron. You did such an awesome job. We really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank you all.
And maybe sometime you'll leave that sunny California and come visit us here in Nebraska.
I'd love to, and thank you all for having me. I know in a room like this that, sometimes you don't want to ask your question in front of everyone. That's okay. When I'm in person, I always like to take time and answer those questions one-on-one after. So what I'll say is, Jamie, feel free to share my email with everyone. If anyone has questions that they want to reach out more one-on-one, they are more than welcome to.
Very cool, yes. And Aaron does have a newsletter that he sends out once a week. I don't know if you call it a newsletter, I guess, but it's always very inspirational. He gives good advice on leadership and teamwork and all kinds of good stuff. So I'd encourage you to sign up for that as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
All right, so that concludes our lunch. We will meet back in Ballroom 1 general session starts at 1:30. So you could start heading that way right now, maybe after you use the restroom or whatever, but what? It did? 1:30. What time is it? What? You can't do math. Oh my gosh. These guys are confusing me. We're not on Eastern time. Yes, exactly. Yeah. See you at 1:30 in Ballroom 1.